is the Mercenary more your jam for Path of Exile 2, then this is my early Act 1 build from the start all the way to the end for Path of Exile 2. I'm going to go level by level, showing you all the notes you should take, going to what skills I'm using, going over the items I'm using, what statistics and stats to look for. So if we start with our skill tree, and you can see we started in this section here, and I started with the projectile damage, 10% increased projectile damage. And then just going south, following this path all the way, collecting the projectiles, that's 50% extra damage until we get to remorselessness. 15% increased projectile damage, 30% increased stun build up against enemies within 2 meters, plus 5 to strength and dexterity. If you look in the top right hand side of the screen, you'll see we have 31 strength, 48 dex, and 7 intelligence. Now just remember, when it comes to these builds, you won't be able to have the exact same stats because the loot system, obviously you're not going to find the exact items, but follow the skill tree and I'll show you where you can go. Now from here I actually went to the left and I took the armor and evasion, so 12% increase to both of these. Getting to the middle for feel no pain, 20% increased armor and evasion rating, 20% increased stun threshold. Really boosting up my DPS, boosting up my armor. How I like doing this, I like using the elemental attacks, I like having the standard attack, and I really like focusing on boosting my health, my life regen, and my armor and my energy shields. Those are the 4 things I really focused on for this build. Now going to the left again is where I went next to take armor evasion, 12% increase, getting to battle hardened. Hits against you have a 20% reduced critical damage bonus, 20% increased armor and evasion rating, and a plus 5 to strength and dexterity. Now once I had battle hardened, I went to remorselessness and followed this path south. So we took a 10% increased projectile damage, a further 10% projectile damage to ricochet, 15% increased projectile damage. Projectiles have 10% chance to chain an additional time from terrain. Really nice way if you pop this off, getting extra damage out of your one shot. Really good ability to have, and even if that doesn't trigger, 15% increased projectile damage is a big boost to DPS. Now after having done this, I went back to Battle Harden and I followed the route up here to the right for life regeneration, getting to hard to kill. So 40% increased flask life recovery rate, regenerate 0.75% of life per second. Once I had that completed, I went down here to get the ailment chance, 10% increased chance to inflict ailments, furthering that all the way to exposed wounds. 15% increased chance to inflict ailments, break 30% increased armor on enemies affected by ailments. Really nice way of tying everything all together. Once I had those completed, back to Battle Hardened we go to the left. Now for this node, I personally took dexterity. This will depend on what items you have. You might find you need to boost your strength up to wear some armors. You could want to boost your intelligence up. I just went for dex because I was wearing all the equipment I needed to. Continuing to the left to get to strength plus 5. And then attack speed, and this is where I would take the build next. It would be the attack speed node here. Making sure we can attack quicker. Attacking quicker means more damage. Once I have the attack speed done, I should say, the next area I'd probably focus on would be the life regen here, to make sure we don't lose as much life in battle, or furthering all the way down the skill tree to get to the grenade sort of like cluster here. But that is long-term planning for Act 2. For now, that is where the build should lead. If you reach level 17 where I am, you could be a few levels higher, and if you are, just fill out the attack speed, because eventually you want to get to Mass Hysteria for the 6% increased attack speed. Now if we go over our skills, my main ability is crossbow shot, and you'll see I've got 2 sockets in there, and they are Envenom. So support skills have 60% chance to poison on hit, again ties very nicely in with our skill tree with the ailment chances. And Lightning Infusion. Supported attacks gain 25% of damage as extra lightning damage. However, it will deal less cold and fire, but that's okay. For this ability, I have Fragmentation Rounds. This is really nice, sort of like minor AoE. It's kind of like a shotgun almost with the crossbow. Really good ability. Hits multiple targets, fragments into others. And for this one, I have Brutality on. So, support skill deals 35% more physical damage, deals no chaos, no elemental. So we lose the electric damage we have with our normal crossbow shot, but 35% more physical damage for a huge spread. Another one is Permafrost Bolts. I love this ability, I think it's amazing. Converts 80% of physical damage to cold damage. Builds up freeze I should say, 80% more. Bolt, Shatter and Impact, lots of really good things with the ability, and you can freeze enemies with it. Now for this one I put a Frost Nexus on it. So support skills create chilled ground for 4 seconds when they freeze an enemy. After that, one of my favourite abilities in the game, Explosive Grenade. You basically, as it says, throw a grenade at it, and hence why, going forward, looking at the passive tree, thinking about taking the Grenader sort of cluster we had in the circle. To on this, I've put Scatter Shot, so we deal 20% less damage with it, however, we deal additional 2 projectiles, meaning we have a further spread. For my next ability, Incendiary Shot, again another really good ability, no sockets on these yet because we're still levelling through, but really nice fire based attack, so we're covering lots of the elements, lightning, fire, cold. I have Herald of Ash, so while active, enemies you sufficiently overkill with attacks will cause an explosion, which lights other enemies, really good for the mobs that come at you, especially when you start dealing the big damage, huge amount of burn. I also have high velocity rounds, so load your crossbow, piercing bolts that consume fully broken armour. Again, really nice way, focus on that armour, we want to break it down. Gallivantic Shards, again another really cool lightning based ability. I think this is amazing, I will show all these in combat, but again, really focusing on that lightning damage, making sure we have lots of elements. And of course to tie into our poison as well, we have Gas Grenade. This is another amazing ability that helps poison enemies, drops a nice little bomb. It's kind of like the Skeletal Archer, almost, their ability, but it's just a great thing to have. Now when it comes to inventory, the 4 main things I focused on for this build is physical damage, it's life regeneration, it's armour and energy shields, and dexterity. Those are the 4 main things I focused on, and the 4 main things I would recommend you find when doing your equipment. So you can see with this one, the Mist Whisperer Makeshift Bow, this is an incredible pickup. I don't know how I managed to get this, but has cold damage on top, 43% increased freeze build up, attacks chain an additional time. So if you can find something akin to this, it's a crazy good item. For a ring, just a standard iron ring, 1 to 4 physical damage. For armour, you can see we've got a bit of evasion going there. That's another big thing for these sort of like roguelike characters. Evasion is huge, but 1.1 life regeneration per second and 117 evasion rating. For a helmet, evasion rating 60, but 26% increased evasion rating, 1.4 life regeneration per second. For an amulet, I went for one that's plus 10 to dexterity, again boosting that dex up as much as we can. For your other ring, again just a standard eye ring, 1 to 4 physical damage. For shoes, I went for boots for 44 armour, a plus 16 to armour, 15% increased armour, plus 5 to strength as well. Again, really tying into the 4 core elements I wanted for this build. For a belt, we have 24% increased life recovery from flasks, but more importantly, plus 12 to armour. And then for hand wraps, energy shield 6, 13 armour, it's not amazing, but 8% increased armour and energy shields, plus 7 to maximum life, 9% increased rarity in items found is perfect, and 12 extra to dexterity. Okay, we are in the manor, this is the end of Act 1, or near the end of Act 1, let's show the build up. So as you can see we have our standard bolts here that fire a bunch of poison. If I go to my lightning round, we have huge lightning damage with the AoEs there. If we go to our grenades, I accidentally pressed early, but we can pop the grenades there, and then we can use our lightning even within the blast range just like that. Really good ability. Now when it comes to the bolts, you do have to make sure you switch them back and forth if you remember to. But we also have our poisoning grenades, which I will shoot up here, and you can couple these with your mana with your explosion ones, and again keep them in the lightning just like that. And you'll see the enemies just melt. That's the fire damage there as well. Again, let's find some more, and you can see we are taking multiple out at a time, but getting all those abilities. And again, if you get into this situation, just hit your lightning, throw some grenades down, just like that, and watch all the enemies just begin to evaporate in front of you. And you see our life is so solid thanks to our evasion, thanks to our abilities. And we can just keep firing like this to get rid of them. Change back to our normal bolts, if I press the right button. There we go. Try and get our poison going. And you can see they are fire resistant, which means we know we don't need to worry about only dealing fire damage. We can use any of our other elements. For example, if I wanted to, I could come in here with some poison that way. Get them going that way. I can drop my bombs. I can fire my rounds like this. Get the poison going, stun them, and we are sorted. So that is this build to a T. Really nice sort of AoE but controlled system of dealing all the elements, having good evasion to roll out the way of stuff and being able to block things, good armor and good energy shields. So I really hope this build has helped. If it has, please drop the episode a like, it helps me amazingly. If you're new and you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more. I've got more Path of Exile builds, more Baldur's Gate 3 builds, Dragon Age the Veilguard builds, all that fun stuff. If you want to support the channel, you can do by becoming a member today by just pressing the join button below the video for less than a cup of coffee a month, and it helps me tremendously. Regardless, I hope you've enjoyed, and if you have, hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.